Welcome to Networking RX, a podcast devoted to helping business professionals like you enhance your networking skills in order to become more proficient giving and receiving quality business referrals and improving the overall quality of your life and the lives of those around you. The Networking RX podcast is a production of AmSpirit Business Connections, an organization whose mission is to empower business success through networking.
You know, this morning I was on a call just a networking call, and we were just talking about somebody I'm inviting on my podcast. We were talking about networking, and she was sharing with me how she felt that COVID really impaired networking, how it really kind of just put the brakes on things. And I don't like to contradict people, and you know what? If that's her opinion, that's great. It's her opinion. But I couldn't disagree more. I mean, I just think that, you know, through COVID, I've met so many great people. And today I have on the program with me for a third time, Adam Connors. And I bring his name up because we didn't meet after COVID. This was a pre-COVID thing, Adam. You and I, it was the summer of 2019 that you and I met, and I was totally taken by your Network Wise podcast, the whole program you were putting together. And we have never met in person, but we are fast friends. We've known each other. Do the math. And you got a book out, Connections Count, Fables of Networking and Relationship Building. And I wanted to just get you back on. I want to get you on every year at least, and just share the value. We have what people don't know, Adam, is that you and I have conversations, and I'll shut up here in a minute. You and I have conversations, and we should hit record on every damn one, because they're really, I'm always learning. I'm always little tidbits, things you do. And so welcome back for a third time.
It's an honor and a pleasure. Frank, I really, I'm humbled. I'm also happy to be here. But, you know, I sing your praise a lot as well, because I think that your podcast, you know, you just get it, and you make it very easy for other people. Like you're able to boil things down in very simple layman terms. I like the stories, and I like that it's just off the cuff. I'm just such a fan. And there's a lot of things that I learned from you as well that I incorporate into the things that I'm doing. So, you know, I really, like I said, I'm honored, I'm humbled, and I'm excited to talk about whatever it is that we're going to talk about, because, you know, and I think you got a good point. Like, we probably should just record the conversations, because at the end of the day, most people, they really just don't understand networking, you know, and they think it's dirty. They think they have just such a bad understanding of what it is. And if they were just able to hear two guys just talking, not really having any angle, they'd realize that we are, even though we're not quote unquote what they might perceive as networking, we're networking.
Yeah. Well, you know, when I have conversations with people, and I did a program last night with a group of I'll call them composers. You know, they'll do background music for movies and commercials and stuff like that. And you know, it's an industry I have knew nothing about. You know, it's like longshoremen. I don't know any longshoremen either, right? But, you know, I was sharing some things with them, and I almost forgot to mention things, because to me it's so commonplace. It's so, you know, small talk, engage in small talk, right? I mean, it's, you know, it's just this. It's the water I swim in. I can't see it, and so I don't even mention it. And so when I do mention it, and the looks on people's faces, and you can see them diving with their pens, you know, to start take notes. It's like, oh my gosh, I feel like I just pulled out a Bic lighter and showed it to a caveman.
Well, you know, if I could piggyback small talk, you know, small talk really is the big talk that leads to big things.
Yeah.
And it's a skill that is so important. You know, I mean, you probably do know this already, but maybe your listeners don't, that 33% of all conversation is small talk.
Yeah.
So if you think about how much communication happens, and 1/3 of it is small talk, to me, that is a skill that I'm thinking is probably pretty important.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's something, at least for myself, when I learned that statistic, I was like, wow, I got to work on this. This is
Yeah.
something I need to be good at.
Yeah, no, actually, you had shared that with me before, and actually, I read it in your book. Um, and I thought that figure was kind of low because I think about the lunches I'll have with people, and it's the last 5 minutes where it's like, hey, we got to go, let's do some business here.
Yeah.
You're talking for 55 minutes, and it's all just, how's the kids, what's going on, what do you think of this, what do you think of that, what about the game, so on and so forth, and it's all small talk. Question for you. I know people get a gag reflex to the notion of small talk, and there is really a distinction there between what we call shallow mundane conversations and meaningful small talk. Where's that line?
Well, I guess before answering that, for me, time is the most important commodity that we have on this planet. So for myself, I want to figure out if I want to spend more time with somebody sooner rather than later. Again, this is my just subjective feeling. So for me, I want to get to the meat and potatoes pretty quickly when I'm meeting somebody, whether it's in a group setting or whatever that might be. So, um, so your question, I'm sorry, before
Well,
I had a thought and I lost it for a second.
no,
Yeah.
that's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. Um, you know, people people resist small talk because they feel that it's shallow and mundane. But it's really not. And so where's that line between, okay, I'm going to ask this person, hey, how are you doing, just because I feel like I need to,
Yeah.
as opposed to really kind of getting into a deep conversation.
So I'm not sure if I know if there's an exact line that would be very subjective, but maybe could I share maybe a couple small talk questions that I
Yeah,
often go to that
please.
that I
Yeah,
think that I think open the door to bigger talk?
yeah.
You think that one?
No, I think it's great. Yeah, like I said,
So
when we get together, there's value. So yeah,
yeah.
please.
So let me first preface by the worst thing that you could do, one of the worst things that you could do outside of asking somebody their politics and religion and things like that, is to ask somebody what they do for a living. Hey, what do you do? And because most people they just do that, and 76% of people don't like what they do. And
Yeah,
30, I forgot the percent, it varies every year, 30 something percent actively hate what they're doing every year. So when you start a conversation with that, you're opening up the potential for it to be negative. Or how about the people that aren't even working?
yeah,
So that they're going to recoil, and you might not necessarily get the best out of them. So for me, when I start a conversation with someone, one of the first things that I want to ask them is something positive, something that's going to open them up, and something that's going to let me learn a lot about them. So, for example, something simple that I might ask is, hey, Frank, nice to meet you. I'm Adam. I got a different question for you, Frank. Where's your favorite place to get pizza?
mm,
And
yeah,
first of all, I just love pizza. So selfishly, I always want to hear about good places to get pizza.
yeah,
So I'm going to learn. Then I'm going to learn the style of pizza you like. So we're going to, everybody loves pizza. And then if they don't like pizza, I gotta get under the hood. Frank, how the heck do you not like pizza? Right?
yeah,
So that's a question that I'll ask. Another question that I'll ask somebody, and look at I'm looking at your face right now while I ask this. What was the last thing that made you laugh, Frank? And when you ask that question, we have these micro expressions.
yeah,
And when you ask that question, first of all, it puts a smile on somebody's face right away. They're instantly thinking about something funny. And
yeah,
then not only that, then I'm going to learn about them. What kind of person am I talking with right now? Am I talking with somebody, maybe they want to talk about something cute that their kid did, or maybe they're going to tell me a dirty joke,
yeah,
whatever it is, I'm going to really learn about what makes somebody laugh. So questions like that are going to lead to again, the small talk that's going to lead to the big talk. That's going to help me to connect with them or maybe not connect. And
yeah,
maybe they are going to go into politics, which I just don't want to talk about with anybody, even if I am on the same side. For the most part, let's talk about other things that we're going to enjoy or bigger picture, things like that are
yeah.
going to
No,
lead to more. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, you're absolutely right. I occasionally we'll get onto calls where it gets right down to brass tacks. Right,
Oh,
brass tack. I mean, it's just,
yeah,
and if somebody doesn't want to do small talk, that's fine. If they're right into sales mode, you know what? God love you. It's not going to work.
yeah.
I don't mess around. Like you said, time's important. It's not for me to try and turn them around. Um, but I just know in that instant is like, this is going nowhere.
Yeah,
This is just going
100%.
nowhere,
And listen, the best investments to me are sometimes those that you don't make.
Right.
So, if I quickly realize like that person that went right into sales with me, hey, good for them. I guess this is what they do, but it's not, I want to get to know a person. I want to build some trust with somebody. I want to see if I like them. And then from there, do I want to spend time with them? And then am I going to feel comfortable putting my name behind a potential introduction that I'm going to make? Because,
Yeah.
odds are I might not be the right buyer for them, but high probability I might know 10 people that are their buyer,
Yeah.
their potential buyer.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so small talk is important to me. Very important.
Yeah. Now, how do you weave it into your daily life? I mean, I hear your questions, and I kind of get that you're at a setting where it's like, okay, we're kind of open to it. It's a networking event, or tailgate party or something like that. But uh, outside of that, how are you weaving it into your daily life? And yeah, I guess we'll just go with that
Yeah.
question.
I mean, listen, it doesn't matter who I'm speaking with. One of the first things that I'll typically just ask somebody is, what are you looking forward to?
Yeah.
What do you got going on that you're looking forward to? Because that could relate to work, it could relate to family, it could relate to athletics, it could relate to. So again, it's these types of conversation catalysts that are going to turn into, that's going to springboard into something more meaningful. And again, I think you might be right. Maybe 33% is a small number because if you think about it, you have to start there,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. For me, I'm always looking to engage somebody in conversation. The server at a restaurant, uh,
Yeah,
the person checking out, the checkout person at the grocery store, wherever I can, I'm trying to, and I'm not even looking to meet these people, right? This has nothing to do with sales. It I find that it kind of keeps my skills polished.
yes.
And I know it drives my kids crazy. I know it does. Oh,
Ah,
Dad, but then I know they do it too, right?
yeah,
I can see
great.
them doing it. But yeah, just somebody in the, hey, where did you, in the grocery store? I was at the grocery store this morning picking something up. Where did you find that? I don't have any interest in what they've got, but where did you find that? Uh,
So what you did, and actually thank you for sharing that because that helps me to answer maybe
yeah,
one of your questions. Um, Curiosity. It's
yeah,
that you're curious about them. And that is if you've got that curiosity and it's sincere,
yeah,
that really is going to help with with that small talk. And it's got to be sincere. So like when I first meet somebody, what I typically will also do is a lot of times people try to find common ground. I'd like to find common ground, but that's next step for me. So the first thing that I look for is what do I genuinely like about that person?
mm,
Do I like those new frames of glasses that you have? Do I like, actually, I do like the Dickinson sweatshirt that you're wearing. So I
thank you.
might, I might start out, hey, that's a nice sweatshirt. It's sincere. There's probably a story. I'm assuming one of your kids probably went there,
Yeah,
and it looks pretty freaking comfortable. So I'm being sincere. It's gonna be, I'm being curious, and high probability that it's probably gonna lead to a conversation. Like that's more than, hey, it's raining here for the first time in 44 days,
yeah,
which you've had that conversation 10 times already today.
yeah. No, I mean, you're absolutely right. But there are occasions where I remember having a small talk conversation with somebody. I'm talking about it was snowing, right? You're in New York. I'm in the Midwest. I'm in
Yep.
Ohio. Snow can come out of nowhere. It doesn't happen every day, but it comes out of nowhere, and it can be disruptive. And walking into an event because I was gonna go to the event and talking to somebody, saying, "Oh my God, can you believe the snow?" And the words out of the woman's mouth were, "I love the snow. I love to ski," and that was my jumping off point,
Oh,
right?
there you go.
And we had a great conversation, and I ended the conversation with, you know what? If you don't, if she was skiing that weekend, if you don't break your leg this weekend, I'd love to have coffee with you next week, because I wasn't going to have a long conversation
Yeah,
at the
yeah.
event with one person. Love to really take a deeper dive into what it is you do to pay for skiing, right? Of relating it back to, really, our whole conversation was about skiing. Didn't
Mm.
talk about business. Um, Now, one of the things you really enlightened me on, well, and we can dive into this a little bit. Um, and this I knew this talk would go fast. Um, ROI versus ROO, or ROI versus ROR.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's so the ROR, that's a return on relationships, and for me, there's no better asset class out there. I mean, it's my best grossing asset
Yeah,
are my relationships. I don't even know. I don't have a close second.
yeah,
It's those relationships that are, you know, they just do everything that's ever happened to me in my life has all been a result of the relationships. Every job interview, every job opportunity, every business, every project,
yep,
every sale. You really boil things back. It's all tied to people that I've built relationships and were either kind enough to open those doors for me or introduce somebody that has opened a door for me. So there's um, there's not a close second.
yeah.
No.
Well, you introduced me to that concept several years ago, and I have thought about it, not continually, but on and off. But I've come to the realization that ROR leads to the things that allow you to have an ROI, right? You're not buying a
Mm.
business unless you have ROR.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
not getting money to invest unless you have ROR. And so it is truly, truly everything.
Like I said, everything. That's the right, and that all boils down to trust, which, every stranger or every friend, I should say, started as a stranger. So you
Yep.
had to have the small talk to develop the relationship. Then you nurture it, right? Like
Yep.
you've got to be able to do that. And then that, the hierarchy, the Maslow's hierarchy of relationships is trust. And then
Yep.
once you have that trust, that's what's going to then lead to those relationships that are going to be those RORs that turn into the ROIs.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. Your book, Connections Count, Fables of Networking and Relationship Building. Where did I mean, you've got what, 20 some stories in here? I don't know how many you
There are a
you don't
lot.
number these. Yeah, there's a lot. I mean,
There are a lot.
and it's a great little read. It's a little over 100 pages. Each story is about 3, 4 pages tops.
Yeah.
Fun read.
Yeah, the idea was I had actually originally written a couple books on networking, but they were I don't want to say they're all the same because I don't really agree with a lot of the philosophies out there, but I didn't want to be like all the same.
Yeah,
And what I've also, after I've been teaching people how to network for so many years, and candidly, people think that they want to learn how to network, but it's networking, not net funning.
yeah,
So it dies out. So I was trying to think about, what's a way that I can at least, I wanted to make it like an airplane read. You got 2 hour flight or a 3 hour flight. You want to maybe read a couple stories, and I wanted to kind of make it fun and maybe even in a go after like a younger audience.
yeah,
So the idea was to let me find a principle, let me turn it into it's written in fables. These are stories that weave in, I kind of use, comparative analogy to kind
yeah,
of weave in the points of that to drive home that this is really what networking is. And here are those RORs that turn into ROIs,
yeah.
just through these simple principles. And something that was pretty interesting, or the best thing that actually came out of this, um, to me was, as I'm sure, Frank, you can appreciate, you've probably tried to bestow this type of stuff onto your kids, and they don't ever, the shoemaker's kid, has no shoes. You've all heard that term. Well, I would try to talk with my kids about this, but it wasn't really sticking.
Right.
Maybe they were through osmosis, they were getting it. But what we did it with this book, I made my kids each read a story a night. And it is, I think the 3 pages is the longest. So what we would do, we'd read the story, and then there are questions at the end of each story. So then we would talk about them as a family. And it turned, great dialogue. Previously I couldn't get my kids to talk to me at all.
Yeah.
Now through this story, we have great dinner conversations. So to me, this is a selfish book. It was all about me. So that was
No,
that's where I'm
no,
at.
it's a great little book. Let's shift gears. Let's talk about Adam Connors. Let's talk about Network Wise. Let's talk about things you got going. Before we hit record, you were talking about your Wingman program, which I think is totally fascinating. Um, you're essentially in New York City. There's more people in New York City than there is in the entire state of Ohio. I mean, it's just I'm envious, right? I mean, you have quite a market there, and provide great value. Please share about it if you would, the things you're doing.
Sure. Well, maybe what I'll share is just in the spirit of time. So my company is called NetworkWise. That's the parent company. That's technically, I guess, an ed tech company because we've, codified what networking really is and created a certification. But, so organizations will hire us to either work with their C-suite to get them to connect amongst each other because you'd be surprised at how divided a lot of big organizations are, and they only have relationships within their just their teams and linear. They're not connected amongst themselves. And then also they'll hire us to work with their high potential. So these are the kids that are coming out with MBAs or people that they're going to invest a lot of money in, and they want to see stay within the organizations. And I could go into statistics and about why that's so important to have networks, but I know we don't have the time for that. But one thing that I do for your listeners that are in New York or are planning on being New York, I host a private lunch. It's called More Than Just a Lunch, and it's an invitation only. It's very intimate, 5 to 7 people. Every Tuesday, I do one in New York City, and every Wednesday, I do one in Hoboken. And the idea is I don't tell anybody who's going to be at each lunch. There's no selling. And what I do for friends or friends of friends, because there's that borrowed trust that goes
Yeah.
on, is, I curate an intimate lunch where people get to really learn what networking is all about. We get to share a great meal, and we walk out pretty bonded. This is something I get paid thousands of dollars to do for companies that I do for free for friends.
Yeah.
And it's always fun. I've done, I think, almost about 150 as
Wow.
of today. Uh, probably 800 people have come through there, I guess. And so knock on wood, haven't had a single complaint yet. So something's working. And we got a 2,500 person waiting list as we record today. So
Wow.
if someone's coming through your channel and they are interested, more than just a lunch.com, you can sign up and happy to learn about them and maybe one day meet them in person.
Well, I'll get that in the show notes. I think um, that's something certainly worth considering for people who are. If you're out there, it's a no-brainer, right?
Right. We've had so many outcomes. I've had people, the obvious, get jobs,
Yeah.
do business together, but maybe some of the not obvious, get into each other's country clubs, go on boats. We've had people get board positions. We've had people raise thousands of dollars through charity. I mean, and then my favorite is we've just created friendships. Like I get texts where people are like, I'll see pictures. I'm like, wait, they met through my lunch, or like,
Yeah.
it's great. It's extremely
Yeah.
rewarding. It might be a Tuesday or a Wednesday for them, but it's really like a Saturday for me.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny when those things happen and people are like, I can't remember how we met. Uh, Pardon my expression, dumbass, you met from me.
Yeah.
I know exactly how you met.
Yeah.
I know exactly because you didn't know each other till I connected you, which
No, that is
it's,
great.
that and 50 cents will get you a cup of coffee, but whatever.
Frank,
Adam,
what are you doing these days? Get us up to speed on you.
um, yeah, I mean, AmSpirit Business Connections is growing. We've just
Great.
had record month after record month after record month. It's kudos to franchisees out there. They're really kind of dialing in to serve people. I have
That's the
gotten
key.
out and what's that?
That's the key.
Yeah.
What you said, they're serving people.
Oh
They're
yeah.
not they're not getting, which they will, but they're serving.
Yeah. Well, and we've really, I don't want to say morphed the organization because it's always been this way, but we're really leaning into helping our members get referrals. There are a lot of great networking organizations out there, and I'm not belittling any of them, but most of them are about, hey, let's bring people together, let's hope for the best, and if something great happens, let's celebrate it, right? And with us, it's really kind of an active process of saying, okay, we're going to make sure everybody's getting referrals. And if you're not getting referrals, then we need to work with you to ensure that everybody understands what's happening better. So certainly a lot with that. I'm working on another book called
Right.
The 3 Reasons Why You Don't Get Referrals. It's actually probably the easiest book I've ever written because I'm just literally going and transcribing speeches I've given or scripts from videos I've created, because it's all these little nuggets that are out here. I'm just kind of repackaging it into a book, adding examples to it. So yeah, continue to be busy doing, getting out people, paying you to get out and speak. And yeah, my biggest challenge is there's 24 hours in a day. That's my biggest challenge, right?
Time. See that
That's
time
it.
that we talked about? The commodity.
Yeah. That's, and you got to say no to things. And I hate to do it, but sometimes I just have to say no. So.
Well, I'm glad you said yes to today.
No, I'm glad you said yes to today. This has been great. We'll get you back on. I really appreciate you. Appreciate our friendship.
Yeah, me too, man. Thank you. Much gratitude to you.
Thanks for joining us on the Networking RX podcast. Please put what you've learned into action today and let us know if you have questions, comments, or ideas for future topics. You can email them to us at podcast@amspirit.com. That's AMSPIRIT.com. Finally, so you never miss an episode, be sure to subscribe to the Networking RX podcast through iTunes, Overcast, or however you receive your podcasts. Now get out and network with someone.
The Networking RX podcast is the copyright production of AmSpirit Business Connection. All rights reserved.